Have you ever caught a man looking at you when he thought you would never notice? Maybe you've heard the subtle change in his voice that only appears when he's talking to you. These quiet moments often reveal more than words ever can. The unconscious mind has a way of expressing feelings long before someone is ready to admit them. Even when a man seems careful with what he says, his heart may have already made its decision. And that decision could be you. What if the man who sometimes leaves you, confused with mixed signals, is actually feeling something much deeper than he understands himself? According to Carl Jung, our strongest emotions don't always pass through logic first. They naturally show themselves through spontaneous actions, unnoticed habits, and subtle changes in behavior. When someone's soul deeply connects with another person, their body often begins revealing the truth before their mind can explain it. Many people mistake a man's quiet nature for emotional distance. In reality, silence can sometimes be the language of deep affection. Genuine love doesn't always arrive with dramatic confessions or unforgettable romantic gestures. More often, it grows quietly. It changes the way someone behaves, the way they think, and even the way they experience everyday life before they fully realize what is happening inside them. The man whose silence sometimes leaves you wondering, or whose occasional distance feels confusing, may actually be experiencing emotions he hasn't learned to recognize. Love rarely begins as a logical decision. Sometimes it slips into someone's life through dreams, through an unexpected sense of peace, or through the way they keep looking at someone without realizing they're doing it. Jung believed that whatever remains unconscious eventually shapes our lives as destiny. Love follows the same pattern. A man may not have admitted his feelings, even to himself, but his unconscious can already be guiding his choices and reactions. Before we continue, write one simple word in the comments: resonance. Not for anyone else, but for yourself. Sometimes putting a meaningful word into the world allows your heart to acknowledge something it has been quietly feeling all along. If these ideas awaken something inside you, let that single word become a reflection of what already exists within you. That's why his attention feels sincere instead of calculated. He isn't trying to earn approval. His unconscious simply keeps bringing you into focus. Even when you're apart, you remain present in his thoughts. He remembers conversations you assumed he'd forgotten. He asks about something you mentioned weeks earlier. He checks on situations that mattered to you, even when there was no obvious reason to bring them up again. These aren't random habits. His unconscious mind is slowly guiding him toward you while his conscious mind is still catching up. He's processing feelings that haven't fully surfaced, yet those feelings are already influencing the choices he makes every day. This isn't obsession or emotional dependence. It's resonance. Something about your presence has awakened a part of him that quietly speaks through actions rather than words. Another meaningful sign appears in the way he behaves whenever you're together. Some people act exactly the same with everyone they meet. But when love begins reaching beneath the surface, subtle differences appear. He may become gentler around you, more emotionally available, perhaps even slightly nervous at times. Love doesn't make people perfect. It makes them authentic. The emotional walls they've carefully built begin lowering without conscious effort. If you're the one person around whom he seems genuinely relaxed, if moments of silence between you feel comforting instead of uncomfortable, that isn't accidental. It's emotional safety. Jung also believed that whatever the soul truly values naturally becomes something it wants to protect. Because of that, he may begin caring for you in quiet, instinctive ways. He reminds you to eat when you've been busy. He asks you to text when you arrive home safely. He notices when you're tired. He offers help before you ask. He pays attention to your well-being without expecting recognition in return. This isn't about control. It's about connection. Somewhere inside him, your happiness has quietly become connected to his own. When someone begins looking after you without obligation or expectation, it often means you've already become part of their inner emotional world. He may never explain these feelings out loud. He may not fully understand them himself, but his unconscious already recognizes something meaningful between you. So if you've noticed these quiet patterns, don't dismiss them too quickly. Silence doesn't always mean uncertainty or emotional distance. Sometimes the deepest emotions are unfolding beneath the surface, hidden from both of you. Because the next signs become even more revealing. They only appear when a connection reaches beyond ordinary attraction. There are moments when a man's energy communicates everything his words leave unsaid. He may never openly confess his feelings, but something changes in his presence whenever you're near. Watch the way he looks at you when he forgets you're watching. Notice how his breathing subtly changes. See how easily conversation fades into comfortable silence instead of awkwardness. That silence isn't empty, it's presence. It's two inner worlds meeting without needing constant conversation. When a man loves more deeply than he can admit, his body often tells the truth before his voice ever does. Pay attention when other people talk about you. If someone sincerely compliments you, watch his expression. If someone criticizes you unfairly, notice his reaction. Love doesn't have to become fully conscious before it begins protecting what matters. Even while he's confused about his own emotions, his instincts often reveal where his heart already belongs. As Jung suggested, the unconscious possesses a wisdom of its own. It begins moving us toward what truly matters long before the conscious mind understands why. If you notice that he reacts whenever your name is mentioned, even in the smallest ways, don't dismiss it. Those subtle responses often reveal that something deep inside him has already decided you are important. Long before he finds the words to explain his feelings, his soul is quietly expressing them through instinctive reactions, unconscious habits, and all the beautifully human moments he never planned. Real feelings always create effort. They don't have to appear as grand romantic gestures or dramatic declarations. More often, they show themselves in everyday actions. He listens with genuine attention when you speak. He remembers stories you told months ago. He adjusts his schedule just to spend time with you. If he realizes he has disappointed you, he sincerely wants to make it right. These quiet acts of consistency reveal far more than endless promises ever could. When someone feels nothing, they remain emotionally unchanged. But when love begins growing inside a person, they naturally move closer. Not because they want to impress you, not because they feel obligated. They do it because their inner world is already making room for your presence. There's another sign that many people never recognize. A man who has been deeply touched by you doesn't simply return to normal when you're apart. The change follows him. His routines begin to shift. His thoughts become less predictable. He may seem distracted, reflective, or unable to fully explain what's occupying his mind. Something inside him has awakened, and even if he doesn't understand it, you have become part of the quiet rhythm of his daily life. You're present in his thoughts, his emotions, and the ordinary moments that once happened without effort. Carl Jung often described the powerful inner images that shape our lives from within, even without physical closeness. Without trying, you may have become one of those inner figures for him. You now exist within his psychological world. He may never admit it openly. He may even resist accepting it himself. Yet your presence is already influencing how he experiences life. That's why surface behavior shouldn't always be taken at face value. Many men remain quiet, not because their feelings are absent, but because the language of the soul is difficult to translate into ordinary conversation. This is where your intuition becomes valuable. Sometimes your heart recognizes what his conscious mind hasn't yet accepted. It senses that his feelings have already chosen you in silence. Once you begin noticing these subtle patterns, your understanding of love changes. You stop looking only for obvious signs and begin recognizing the quiet ways genuine connection reveals itself. When a man truly falls in love, a gradual transformation begins. It isn't dramatic or sudden. It unfolds slowly, yet it reaches every part of who he is. Little by little, the habits and emotional defenses that once protected him begin losing their grip. Perhaps he used to avoid vulnerability. Maybe independence was always his comfort zone. But after meeting you, something starts changing. His world no longer revolves entirely around himself. Almost without realizing it, he creates emotional space for you. It's as though his inner landscape is quietly expanding, naturally making room for someone new. Watch for the moment he begins sharing parts of himself that few people ever see. Not just interesting stories or casual memories, but the vulnerable places he usually keeps hidden. His regrets, his fears, the dreams he's never spoken aloud. When a man trusts you with those pieces of himself, he isn't trying to impress you. He isn't trying to appear strong or mysterious. He's allowing you to see his most authentic self because he feels safe enough to lower the walls he's carried for years. At this point, the relationship stops being about attraction or pursuit. The games disappear. What remains is surrender. From the outside, it may seem like a small shift, but inwardly, it's one of the biggest transformations a person can experience. It means something fundamental has changed within him. Jung believed that the soul needs a mirror in order to recognize itself. Sometimes another person becomes that mirror. Through knowing you, he begins understanding himself more clearly. In seeing you, he discovers parts of himself that had been hidden all along. Another deeply meaningful sign appears in the way he responds to your emotions. Not everyone has the ability to genuinely connect with another person's emotional world, but when a man's heart is deeply attached, your emotions begin affecting him as though they were partly his own. When you're joyful, he naturally shares in that happiness. When you're hurting, something inside him becomes unsettled, even if he can't explain the reason. He may not always ask the perfect questions or know exactly what to say. Instead, you'll notice it in quieter ways. You'll see concern in his eyes. You'll hear a softness in his voice. You'll feel him moving closer, not because he has all the answers, but because simply being beside you feels important. That instinct to stay close during moments he doesn't fully understand is one of the purest expressions of love. It isn't polished, it isn't rehearsed, it's honest. It comes from somewhere deeper than conscious thought, growing naturally from the unconscious heart. As that bond deepens, another quiet transformation begins. Without being asked, he starts taking interest in the things that matter to you. Your passions become interesting to him. Your dreams matter. The subjects that light up your face begin capturing his attention too. He doesn't lose his own identity. Instead, he discovers the joy of sharing his world while learning yours. This isn't accidental. Jung believed that when two people truly resonate, the walls separating their inner worlds begin softening. From that openness, genuine intimacy is born. It goes beyond attraction. It's a silent recognition that feels impossible to fully explain. Another sign often happens where you'll never see it. Notice how he protects your reputation when you aren't present. He may defend your name during conversations you'll never hear. He may correct misunderstandings or refuse to let others speak unfairly about you. He doesn't do it for recognition. He does it because, somewhere deep inside, protecting you has become part of protecting something precious within himself. Real love rarely needs an audience. Many of its strongest expressions happen quietly. It reveals itself through small acts that most people never notice. If he's gradually changing his habits, caring for you in ways that seem almost automatic, or naturally considering you before making important decisions, don't overlook those moments. You're witnessing emotions that may still exist beyond his own awareness. Before logic creates explanations, and before fear builds walls, love often grows in its purest form. Stay with me, because we're approaching the signs that become almost impossible to hide. Eventually, you'll look back and realize how much he changed without ever intending to. His silence, his consistency, and his everyday actions began saying what his words never could. That's when something becomes unmistakably clear. Real love doesn't always arrive wrapped in grand speeches or unforgettable moments. More often, it appears as steady care, as quiet tenderness, as kindness that expects nothing in return. When a man loves you more deeply than he consciously understands, his soul has already chosen long before his mind finally catches up. And as Jung reminded us, the deepest truths usually begin in the unconscious, long before they become visible in everyday life. Jung believed the unconscious mind never deceives us. Beneath our everyday thoughts lives a deeper truth that reveals itself through emotions, symbols, and quiet actions long before words can explain them. If you've recognized these signs, if you've felt this connection, if something inside you keeps telling you that what exists between you isn't accidental, don't ignore it. Trust that feeling. Often, what we call doubt is simply the conscious mind trying to understand what the heart has already accepted. In the end, most people aren't searching for perfect love stories or flawless declarations. They're searching for the quiet harmony that exists when two souls recognize one another. The strongest signs aren't found in dramatic gestures or extravagant promises. They appear in subtle changes, shifting priorities, and an invisible pull that keeps bringing him back to you, even when logic tells him to walk away. Jung believed our deepest connections come from the part of ourselves that exists beneath fear, strategy, and self-protection. When a man quietly reshapes his inner life to make room for you, when his energy feels different whether you're together or apart, when he allows you to see the vulnerable parts he hides from everyone else, you're witnessing love before it becomes language. It's recognition at the deepest level of who he is. If you've stayed with these words until now, perhaps it's because something inside your own heart already recognizes them, not through excitement or fantasy, but through a calm certainty that quietly refuses to disappear. Real love doesn't need to prove itself every day. It doesn't demand attention or constant reassurance. It remains steady. It becomes a quiet presence that surrounds your life before either of you fully notices it. Eventually you realize that love isn't only an emotion, it's a language all its own. And that language rarely depends on words. It's revealed in moments most people overlook. The extra second he holds your gaze. The little details he remembers months later. The subtle shift in his energy the moment you walk into the room. What appears ordinary to everyone else feels deeply meaningful because it carries something unspoken. This kind of connection isn't based on perfection. Real love isn't built on fantasy. There will still be uncertainty, silence, misunderstandings, and moments of distance. Yet beneath all of that, something remains present. A quiet bond that refuses to disappear. What grows from the soul isn't easily broken by fear or time. Jung spoke about individuation, the lifelong journey toward becoming our truest selves. Along that path, he believed we sometimes encounter another person whose inner world naturally resonates with our own. When that happens, two imperfect people don't complete one another. They simply choose to keep walking together. The man who loves you more deeply than he realizes may struggle with his own fears. He may question whether he's enough or whether he deserves the connection he feels. But if you pay attention, his actions reveal what his doubts try to hide. Even when he's uncertain, he stays connected. Even when he's confused, he never completely lets go. Somewhere within him, you've already become a place that feels like home. When one soul finds that kind of home in another, everything begins changing. The relationship stops being about need or attachment and becomes something much healthier. It becomes freedom. He's no longer looking for someone to rescue him. He simply wants someone willing to walk beside him. Without even realizing it, you become a mirror, reflecting not only his wounds, but also his strengths. You remind him of the person he is beneath the fear, the expectations, and the noise of everyday life. That's why the peace he feels with you is more than comfort. It's trust. Jung believed we only lower our defenses around what genuinely feels safe. So when he allows you to see his flaws, his uncertainty, and his contradictions, don't mistake that openness for weakness. It may be the bravest thing he ever does. Many people spend their lives chasing love that dazzles, performs, and demands attention. But what you're witnessing is quieter. It's the kind of love that remains, the kind that doesn't need to make impossible promises because it's already building something lasting through everyday choices. It may appear simple, but its strength comes from the connection itself rather than dramatic moments. There will be times when he pulls away, questions himself, or wonders whether he's enough. Even then, the bond doesn't disappear. It remains like an invisible thread that gently leads him back, because once the soul has chosen, the mind eventually follows. So if you've sensed these changes in his energy, his presence, and the way he naturally returns to you, don't dismiss them. You're recognizing a language that can only be understood with an open heart. You're standing before something real, something beyond timing, beyond labels, beyond control. It grows quietly, like a seed that blossoms without being forced. He may still call it chemistry or coincidence, because he hasn't found better words. But inside him, another truth has already begun waking up. It's the truth that makes him think of you without trying, protect you without hesitation, place you among his priorities without conscious effort. Those things cannot be taught, they are simply felt. And if the day finally comes when he speaks the words his heart has carried in silence, it will happen because you gave those feelings room to grow. You didn't rush them. You understood that mature love doesn't follow deadlines, it moves with its own rhythm. Sometimes one person steps forward while the other catches up. Sometimes both move together without effort. Within that rhythm, something quietly beautiful reveals itself. Jung believed our most authentic selves live beneath the surface, in our dreams, emotions, and symbols that rise unexpectedly. That is where genuine love begins, in the part of the soul untouched by fear or pretense. So if you've noticed him changing, if his priorities slowly revolve around you, if his energy softens whenever you're near, believe what you're seeing. He may not fully understand it yet, he may not know how to say it, but his soul already has. And if you feel it too, remember this connection didn't appear by accident. You're standing at the beginning of something rare, a love built patiently, moment by moment, choice by choice, until one day it no longer needs to hide. When that day arrives and both of you recognize it without fear, promises won't matter nearly as much. You'll already be walking the same path, not because you have to, but because you've chosen one another. That's what real love does. It doesn't shout for attention. It quietly transforms everything it touches. And as time continues moving forward, you'll discover that something inside you has changed as well. Not because of the words he speaks or the promises he makes, but because his presence has slowly become part of your own inner world.